Good morning, great Americans. This is a supplemental Great American video. So, unfortunately, I've made a couple of knee-jerk reaction videos, immediate response videos to the situation about the Democrats' video telling soldiers to disobey illegal orders and all the stuff that's come out of that. Um, so my last video was like a short reel, it was only 1 minute long. I wish I had thought this all the way through. This video here, I may be a small little video maker and I may not get many views, but I'm telling you that what I'm about to tell you is the definitive truth on this subject, and I have not heard anybody express it quite correctly. Soldiers are taught at the very beginning to disobey illegal orders. Now, that really, I think a lot of that came out of people refer to Germany and, I was just obeying orders. But I think for American soldiers, that really came out of Vietnam and some of the things that happened in in the villages and stuff like that. But here's the thing: this is what nobody is clarifying in the news. That order, that rule pertains mostly to your superior officer. What here, for example, if you could go back in time and you were a soldier in Vietnam and you had some platoon commander who just lost his mind and he says, I want you to shoot all the women and children and rape all the women. I mean, let's just say you got a crazy order like that. Well, the soldier in the field would be obliged to say, no, sir, I'm not going to do that. It's illegal to kill all the women and children just for the heck of it, right? But this does not apply to orders coming out of the White House. Okay, you can't be a soldier in the field and say, I don't like the president's policies. Okay, that's not what that rule applies to. So everybody and even George Will was just on a video. I just saw it. He's George Will is senile, man. That might he's an old rhino. He's a fake. He's like Bill Kristol and the rest of them. He's an idiot and a moron. So so this that rule does not apply to soldiers deciding for themselves what is presidential pol- what presidential policy should be and should not be. But see, that's what the Democrats are trying to thrust soldiers into doing. And that's why it's seditious and wrong. Number two, number two, when a president uh, when a president implements a policy such as this, or it's basically a presidential order, executive, right? It hasn't been passed by Congress or anything. And basically, we're talking about sending soldiers for law enforcement to help out cities that are just out of control. Okay. Nothing new there. But anyway, that's what the policy. You can bet your bottom dollar, and this happens with every modern president, especially since the time of Reagan, every modern president, they're going to vet that policy with their White House counsel, their White House lawyers before they implement it. You can bet your bottom dollar that Trump, especially Trump, of all people, considering all the terrible legal things he's been dragged through, you can bet your bottom dollar that before Trump decided to send troops into Chicago or where all the places that they're doing a great job with the out of control crime there. Before he did that, he vetted this through his White House counsel. Say, is this legal? Is this going to bounce back at me? Am I going to get in trouble for it? You can bet your bottom dollar, especially with the sort of assuredness and that he comes off with his policy in front of the news cameras. It's been vetted, and he's been told by White House lawyers and White House counsel that this is legal. So since these policies have been vetted and found legal by counsel, there is no place for any soldier, whether it's a general giving out the orders or whether it's a soldier in the field, to say, "Oh, I disagree with White House policy." No, that is not what that law is meant. As I said, the law about soldiers disobeying illegal orders pertains to local orders in the field, right? Like I said, imagine that you're a soldier in Vietnam and some kooky platoon lieutenant just loses his mind and starts going nuts like in one of those movies or something, and just tells you to do something insane, like I said, kill all the women and children and burn the village. Well, no, of course not. First of all, that's not a presidential order. Second of all, that's obviously insane, and you would be obliged as a soldier to say no. But we're talking about White House orders already vetted by White House counsel as being illegal. So if anybody thinks that Trump's policies are illegal, if anybody thinks that Trump does not have the legal right to send the troops into cities to quell uprisings and out of control crime, that has to be taken to court. Okay? And Democrats sure love to take court. Every time Trump tries to do something, it always ends up in court. That's the way it's done. So one must conclude that the only motivation for the Democrats doing what they did with this video is to sow confusion and distrust and mistrust among the military ranks for the purpose of political gain. Ironically, I just mentioned Vietnam a minute ago. What did the Democrat? It was Democrats who started the Vietnam War. It was Kennedy who got us into the Vietnam War, and it was LBJ, the Democrat who succeeded Kennedy, who brought the Vietnam War to its massive peak, right? And it was the Republican Nixon who brought it back down and eventually got us out. But what the Democrats used the lives of the military, over 50,000 young men killed, for what? For their political agenda, because they never were going to allow those soldiers to win that war. Those soldiers went to Vietnam, they fought, they died, and for what? Because they were never going to be allowed to win. That is a crime against humanity. And the Democrats are doing the same thing today. They're going to throw soldiers under the bus for their political agenda. Okay? That's the fact. That's the fact. This whole illegal order thing has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's pure cover. It's pure cover. And on top of that, in recent interviews, Democrats can't even name one illegal order. I mean, to their credit, I saw, what's her name, Martha Raddatz on ABC pressing one of the Democrat senators to say, well, name one illegal order from Trump, and she couldn't do it. And then the Fox News host was pressing another Democrat senator to say, give me some examples. And he just started blabbing on about, Trump and saying, can we do this and can we do that? But he never could give an example of an illegal order. So there is no illegal orders. The Democrats cannot tell you which order of his is illegal. The rule about disobeying illegal orders that they're stating only pertains to orders in the field from your immediate commander. So, and I gave you the example twice. If I'm a soldier in the field and my lieutenant tells me to do something horrible, I'm not going to do it. But that rule does not apply to soldiers deciding which presidential policies are legal. That's not what that means. Again, I repeat, presidents, especially Trump, who implement these policies, and again, the policy is sending soldiers into the cities, that has been vetted by White House counsel already. He has been told, yes, according to the law, you are allowed to do this, and he did this. So once you've reached that level, if you think that his policies are illegal, then it's incumbent upon the senators or Democrat or whoever thinks they're illegal to take it to court. That's where the remedy for that lies. It does not lie with soldiers deciding which presidential policies they like or don't like. That is what's really going on here. That is why these Democrats are criminals, because in the end, their only motivation is to use soldiers as tools in their political game to get Trump. And guess what? If a soldier actually does that and ends up getting in trouble, they don't give a shit. Just like they didn't give a shit in Vietnam. The Democrats didn't give a shit how many body bags came back in Vietnam. They never planned to win the war, and they just let those poor kids die. And the same thing is happening right now. If some stupid soldier, I mean, I love soldiers. God bless them. God bless them and God bless their service. But just because you're a soldier doesn't mean you're the sharpest tack in the shed, right? I mean, there could be a few soldiers who are liberals and maybe they vote Democrat. And then maybe they decide to listen to these idiot Democrats and they decide to disobey an order. And then they get trouble and maybe they get thrown in prison for it. You think the Democrats care? They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. They are using the soldiers as tools for their evil political agenda, the same way they used them as tools in Vietnam and just let them die by the thousands. That's why this is seditious. That's why Democrats are pieces of shit. That's why they are evil. They are the enemies of true liberty. They're the enemies of America, and they must be defeated totally in 2026 and 2028. And I'm sorry for such a negative message the day before Thanksgiving, but I got to get it out there. Uh, and now, as an opposite juxtaposition, happy thanks. Despite all this stuff, take a cue from Bill Maher and get together with all your family, no matter how they vote, and have a happy Thanksgiving. And if you just vote red in 2026 and vote red in 2028, things will get better. But things will never get better as long as we have these seditious, evil, lawless Democrats in office. They have to go. Happy Thanksgiving. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.